Hello, and welcome back to the Nonstop Podcast. My name is Erica, and I'm your host. On today's episode, I'll be discussing traveling and living with an autoimmune disease with the beautiful Natalis Ruby. Nonstop is a travel and lifestyle podcast that promotes the importance of traveling and mental wellness for millennial women. We discuss everything from travel to dating and careers to mental health. The information, opinions, and recommendations presented in this podcast are for entertainment purposes only. All right, let's get into it. All right, we are live. And tonight we are getting started with the episode of Traveling and Living with Autoimmune Disease. And we have the beautiful Natalis Ribeiro with us. Natalis,
Hola.
go ahead and introduce
Hi.
yourself to the folks.
Hi, my name is Natalis. I am a singer-songwriter from New York City, currently based in New Mexico, living life and doing what I do.
I like it. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get to the juicy stuff. Why the folks are here today. So, what is an autoimmune disease, and which one do you have?
So an autoimmune disease is pretty much when your immune system is it's on overdrive, and it kind of creates a war against yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So the autoimmune condition I have is lupus. And basically with lupus, what the body does is it overproduces white blood cells because it thinks that there's a bacteria or a foreign invader in the body that it's trying to like fight off.
Mm-hmm.
But where the issue is that there isn't any bacteria or foreign invaders. And so it's literally like the white blood cells are attacking your organs.
Mm.
And so with that comes, a lot of inflammation, a lot of pain. And then you also never know when it's going to strike, what it's going to strike, and how it's going to do it. Yeah. So it's a lot of questions.
Yeah, understood. Okay, so when were you diagnosed?
I was diagnosed officially in 2012.
So how did getting that diagnosis actually make you feel?
I mean, I felt relieved because I finally understood what was happening. Like there was a name for it. And then now I start to create a path to find wellness and to find pain management and relief. But the actual day that I heard what it was kind of scary. On the flip side, it was very scary because I didn't know what it was. I'd never heard of it before. I didn't really understand the magnitude of what it was that my doctors were saying to me until I got home and like I started researching and like hearing other people's stories. And I was like, wow, my life really just changed.
Yeah.
And a lot of things have to change.
So, okay. So to that, what are some things that had to change or had to adjust?
Yeah, so lupus is a disease that's triggered by stress. It's also triggered by your environment and food. So I had to do an audit in all areas of my life. I had to analyze my friendships. I had to take a close look at my diet, how I was exercising, the city that I live in, which is part of the reason why I relocated to New Mexico from New York.
Got it.
I had to do a lot of evaluating, like, what are the things that are stressing me out and what do I have control over? What can I minimize stress around so that I can live a healthier lifestyle?
Interesting. So you said you hadn't heard of it. Did you know anybody that has lupus? Or do you know anybody now that has lupus?
I know now that Toni Braxton has it.
Right.
Lady Gaga has it.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, a lot of big celebrities have it, and they're actually just starting to talk about it now. But when I was diagnosed back then, it wasn't a large conversation.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, so how does that make you feel? I mean, now that it's a little bit more, in the I don't want to say the media so much, but people are actually able to talk about it, maybe not scared, keeping that hidden so much. How does that feel?
Yeah, I mean, it helps me not feel so alone. And then especially because I'm, my career path is music. To be able to see other people in the music industry have this condition and still succeed or like figure out their own way and what works for them, it's inspiring to me. And it makes me feel like, okay, well, maybe I can be strong enough. Maybe I do have what it takes.
Yeah, I like that. So, have you found any online communities to learn more about what to expect when living with lupus or while living with lupus?
Yeah, so there's the Lupus Foundation of America. Their
Hmm.
website is actually very informative. They're always
Okay.
posting, how tos or advice on certain things, and then they also have like a support group search within their platform, so you can
Hmm.
find people in your community that
Mm.
meet around these topics. And then I'm also part of a Facebook group that
Interesting.
there's like thousands of people on there that have all kinds of stories, and sometimes
Wow.
I'll just tap in, like, maybe I can help somebody today and,
Hmm.
let them know they're not alone. Or days where I'm like, oh my God, I'll go in there and I'll be like, okay,
Yeah, I need.
I,
Oh, hold on.
I
I
see
need.
y'all
Yeah.
over here. Yeah.
Oh, well, that's good though. So, I guess now, okay. So, once you found a community and found and started to learn more and research, how does having lupus actually affect you working and making a living?
Yeah. So, I mean, it does impact my ability to be consistent,
Hmm.
just because some days I don't know if I'm going to wake up in pain, or I don't know if on said day I'm going to have a rash on my face.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. So
Yeah.
it's hard and scary for me to make commitments because of that.
Mm.
And I feel like the music industry is getting better with things like this, but I feel like before there was so much pressure about having to do a certain thing by a certain deadline, and
Yeah.
very strict. Um, so yeah, I would say for me that's been the largest impact, not being able to stay consistent, and then
Mhm.
also suffering in my head about confidence, like not being sure that I can do it
Ye
because of this thing that I'm going through. Like, what
Hmm.
happens if I take on this tour and then I get sick?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, that's understood. So, I mean, in situations like that, how do you therefore continue? So, how is it that, of course you're an artist, so you wanna go on tour, you wanna do these things. How can you make sure that that happens? Is there something you can talk to with your doctor, or can you make a plan? I know you said every day is different, but is there
yeah.
something that you can do in those ways?
Well, right now my doctor is completely opposed to it. So there's
Mm,
nothing that I can do until
okay.
she writes off and says that it's okay.
Yeah.
But what she does approve, like we talked about, modifying some things, like, okay, if this is the goal, if you want to perform for people, maybe you don't do it on such a large scale. Maybe you can do one-offs, or maybe you can
Yeah.
do pre-recorded shows where they're
Mhm.
less stressful for you and it doesn't involve being around so many people.
Yeah. 'Cause
Yeah.
now with that, you're talking about COVID on top of the lupus, right?
Oh,
So now that's a whole different worry. So how has COVID and the whole pandemic now affected you, whether it's mentally, physically, all of
mhm.
that?
Well, so I definitely had a mental health crisis
Of course, I think
because
we all did.
all of the symptoms for
Yeah.
COVID are the symptoms for lupus.
What?
And so, yes. So for the first
Oh
few
my god.
months, every day I thought I had COVID.
Yeah.
You couldn't tell me
Oh
no
my god.
different.
Oh my god, I'm wait.
But
Congestion.
then it taught me to listen even more closely to my body, you
Mhm.
know, so that I can discern the difference
Yeah.
between when it's something more challenging or when it's
Mhm.
something that my body usually does. And it wasn't until I caught COVID in January, that I was able to see
Hmm.
those differences, like, oh, this is what
Yeah.
COVID feels like.
Yeah, yeah, this is actually yeah. So ho
Yeah.
now, what was I mean, not clearly there was a concern having lupus and getting COVID.
Yeah.
How was that mentally and physically and emotionally? And,
Girl,
your doctor and all of that. Yeah,
I
talk
was
about that.
scared. I
Yeah,
was scared. I was scared.
yeah.
Like every night going to sleep, I was like, oh my God, like, what if I don't wake up tomorrow?
Oh,
I'm laughing
no.
now because it's just, I'm on the other side of it. But
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
moment, I was really scared. And if it
Oh, I
wasn't for my
believe it.
friends and my family just like supporting me through that, helping me stay in quarantine, getting me
Yeah.
the things that I need, talking to me when I needed to just take my
Mhm,
mind off of things,
mhm.
I don't know what I would have done.
Wow. Yeah. So, were there any health issues? I mean, I say health issues, but was there anything health wise going through COVID that you were really concerned about when it came to the lupus? Or was it just like, it felt like it was just, I don't want to say a flu per se, but it was just the COVID that you had to work on. It wasn't like double, is what I'm asking.
No, it wasn't double.
Okay.
Thank God.
Yeah.
It really did feel like a bad flu though.
Okay.
And I
Okay.
feel like even though I'm some months down the road from my recovery,
Mm-hmm.
I still feel like there are some things that I haven't fully recovered from.
Like what?
And I feel like it's like after the fact, it's made my lupus a little more overactive than it has been in the past. So
What
like
are some of
now
those things?
I'm having like all of these little flare-ups that, I wouldn't have had or I wasn't having prior to me
Yeah.
having COVID. So like now I'm getting the butterfly rash on my face,
Yeah.
which I never got pre-COVID.
Okay. Now, it's
I'm
for the people who
feeling
don't know what that is. What can you explain that?
So the butterfly rash is a rash that you get on your cheeks, like in your T-zone area, and it
Mm.
literally looks like a butterfly wings on your face.
Got it.
So that's why
Got it.
they
Got
call
it.
it the butterfly rash.
Yeah.
So
Interesting.
I've been getting that. I have new areas of pain that I didn't have before, and they tend to happen like more frequently. And then my lethargic feeling is back. So some days it don't matter. I could sleep 10 to 12 hours and I'll wake up and still feel like my soul has left my body.
Oh no.
No,
Well, that's a way to put it.
No, like seriously. I told
Wow.
my friend Emily the other day, she was like, "How you feeling?" I was like, "I feel like my soul is somewhere else and God is just making sure I get home safe because I'm so
No.
tired."
Yeah. Wow. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. So, okay. So let's kind of go back a little bit. So prior to your diagnosis, did you travel?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
I started traveling less.
Okay.
You said prior to my
Prior
diagnosis
prior
that
to
I
the
did, but at that time I was working full time, so I
Okay.
didn't travel a lot.
Okay. Okay. Now, do you have concerns or issues when you travel? Do you have to maybe postpone travel? How does all that work?
Yes. So there have been times where I've caught a flare in the middle of the airport. Like one time I was sitting in LaGuardia, I think I was heading to New Mexico,
Mm-hmm.
and my back just completely locked up out of nowhere. And
Wow.
I couldn't move from the sitting position that I was in. And it was almost boarding time for the gate. So I'm
Oh
like,
my
oh my
God.
God, I really can't move. And I don't want to be one of those people to call for a wheelchair. No. I mean, not that there's anything wrong with that,
Yeah.
but for me, there was a lot of pride, because
Yeah. Well,
I'm
of course.
young and I like to think
Yeah.
myself as youthful and I can move around. So
Yeah. Of course. Yeah.
so then I called Emily and I was like, dude, my back like just gave out on me. And she's like, what do you mean? And I'm
I
like,
don't
okay.
understand what's happening.
Yeah, like, I don't know. So she said, why don't you do this? Find the nearest bathroom, move extremely slow. Don't force yourself. Get up very, very slowly. Go to the bathroom. Go somewhere warm.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, why the bathroom? And she was like, well, they have those hand blowers in the bathroom and it's
Yes.
out heat. So go there,
Hmm.
take your jacket off, and put some heat on it, and warm your back. That should
Yeah.
help your muscles to like loosen up a little bit for at least you to
Quick
be able
thinking.
to survive the flight.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I have to consider things like that. There's been times where like I'll be sick in another country and I'll have to end my trip early to go back home because I don't feel comfortable being sick somewhere else.
Yeah.
In that
Wow.
situation.
Yeah. I was gonna say, and I guess even when you might have to cancel a trip or something like that because of it, or have to
Or
make extra
postpone.
considerations. Yeah, postponed. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. And
Okay.
I'm always looking up too. I'm always looking up because certain countries they have a healthcare system that you can buy into when you travel.
Yeah.
But you can also opt out of that. I never
Mm-hmm.
opt out because I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't know.
Yeah. No. Understood. Understood. So outside of thinking about the insurance and possibly like things like your back locking up, what other considerations do you have to make when you decide to travel?
um, Diet, like
Okay. Go
am
into
I
that a little bit.
am I gonna be able to eat things that are not gonna trigger any inflammation?
Mm-hmm.
that kind
What
of
are some
thing.
of the things that you would have to avoid then? Some of the foods?
So any food that causes inflammation, so like potatoes, rice,
Can't have the French fries? Say what now?
red meat. I
Oh
can't.
God. Oh God.
Sweet
I live
potatoes,
off
sweet
French
potato
fries.
fries. But I be cheating,
Yeah.
but I know that when I cheat on the
Yeah.
other side, I may not feel
Yeah.
too good the next day.
Yeah. Oh
But then I
man. Okay.
also travel. I travel with my meds. I travel with a heating pad. You
Mhm.
see me before. I travel with an air purifier.
Yeah. I mean, you have to. I
All
even
these
do
things.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, all these things to try to be as proactive as possible.
Yeah. So what are some of the day-to-day how do you manage your lupus day to day? So take away the travel. What is it that you need to do or can do on a daily basis to kind of stay healthy and active as much as possible?
Yeah, but I definitely have to make sure that I get at least 8 to 9 hours of sleep.
Okay.
I definitely have to stay on top of my diet and make sure that I'm
Mhm.
eating 3 times a day.
Yeah.
And then my doctor also requires that I do 10 minutes of cardio every other day, light
Okay.
cardio only. She
Yeah.
won't let me do anything intense.
Wow.
Then I go to physical therapy three
Mhm.
times a week for the issues that I have with my back and my shoulder.
Okay. Wow. That's a lot. So, I guess what are some medical advances or medical changes you're hoping to see in the future in regards to your lupus?
I've heard stories of remission.
Okay.
I would like to hear more.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
You
So,
know,
I'm actually curious.
like
What?
figure
How?
out that
How?
formula. Like,
Yeah.
these people that are in remission, do a
Mhm.
deep case study on them and see if they can find similarities
Mhm.
that they can pass on to the community to see if other people can also go into remission.
Yeah, that's interesting. So, I guess what are some things that you want people to know about lupus?
um it's an invisible disease,
Mhm.
and it can look like this, and
Yeah.
you can also be bedridden.
Yeah.
It's a
Wow.
spectrum disease, and it impacts everyone who has it differently. And
Mhm.
even for me, within my own experience, day to day, it's not the same.
Mm. Wow.
And so to
Mhm.
just, if they know someone that has lupus or any kind of autoimmune disease, just to have some
Yeah.
grace for them, you know.
Wow. Well, that's I mean, it's accurate because I mean, even when it comes to even mental health, you're talking about invisible diseases, and I'm thinking there's a lot of illnesses that people can look like they're the happiest person in the world, and you never know what they're going through. So it's the same thing when it
Yeah,
comes to autoimmune disease sometimes. So I
yeah.
totally
And there
understand that.
there be them people too that be like, ain't nothing wrong with you, you look
Yeah, of
fine.
course, of course. You look fine, you good, don't worry about it. And you're like,
Yeah.
actually, I'm taking every piece of energy that I have to be here right now. Thank you.
Right.
That's interesting. So,
you know
what are some things you've actually learned about yourself since being diagnosed?
um I learned that I had a lot of unhealthy habits in all
Mm,
aspects of my life. Like
okay.
spiritually, I was not doing well.
Mhm.
A lot of my friendships were very toxic. A lot of the
Mm,
choices that I made were very harmful toward myself. Um, and so I learned also to let go,
mhm.
because within making that discovery, okay, now I have to make a change about it. I can't allow it to be that way anymore. So I have to let
Yeah.
go of this, that, and the third, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Wow. That's interesting. Okay. So, now I know everybody's different, but I have a double question for you. Do you want kids?
I
Is the
do.
first part of that. Okay. And if so, are there any concerns about giving birth with the lupus or, while having lupus? And does lupus affect your love life?
Okay. So I start with the kids
It's a
question.
multi-part question.
Yeah, I definitely want kids.
Hmm.
I definitely, excuse me, can have kids. My rheumatologist, though, tells me when you're ready to have kids, you have to let us know, because we have to
Mm,
keep a very close eye on you,
okay.
because your pregnancy can be high risk.
Mm,
So there's that. How does
yeah.
it impact my love life?
Hmm.
I feel like it's really hard finding people that understand what I go through.
Hmm.
And then, with lupus, there also comes brain fog. So there are some conversations sometimes that I don't fully remember,
Okay.
or, meetings that, oh my God, today I'm supposed to do this, and
Mm-hmm.
totally left my mind. And some people aren't really forgiving of that, or they think that
Of
you're
course, yeah.
being a good listener, or they think that it's on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, but if you only knew that I don't have the capacity to access that conversation you're referring to right now.
Yeah, yeah.
I wish I could, but it's like,
I'm going
uh,
deep down in here. I don't know.
and sometimes I lose words within conversation. Like
Interesting.
I know what I want to say in my head,
Yeah.
but then when it's time to put it out there, there's like a slight delay. And so some days that's in effect, other days it's not. Um, and then that impacts the way people relate to you.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So let's get into it. So people who might be listening to this may or may not have an autoimmune disease. So let's kind of get down to the basics of what that is. So what are some symptoms, whether you have them or not, like general symptoms of lupus?
So I know what my symptoms were. I
Mm-hmm.
was tired all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I developed anxiety over
Mm-hmm.
time. I started getting these lesions in my mouth from eating because my gums would be so inflamed that whenever I would eat something, the food would like stab me.
Oh gosh.
Even like eating a French fry would like scratch me, and then that scratch
No
would turn
way.
into a lesion, and then it would become painful to eat.
Wow.
Rashes, muscle and joint pain, flu-like symptoms, like just feeling like malaise, those are some things that are common.
Wow. Okay. That's interesting. So, have you noticed any changes in your body, like physically or internally, I guess, after being diagnosed?
I feel healthier now.
Okay.
I've actually been able to put on some weight.
Okay.
I
Yes.
gained 15 pounds.
Okay. You better do that.
Yeah, but on the flip side, like, some of my symptoms have changed. Like for one whole year, I had tennis elbow. I don't know if you know what
Now,
that
what's
is,
that?
but people that play tennis, they often have to do
Ah.
this motion,
Yeah.
right? So there's a muscle here that gets inflamed, and then it becomes painful to do that movement.
Oh, wow.
I don't play tennis. I had tennis elbow for a whole year.
Oh my God.
Went away. And then another year I had pleurisy. Pleurisy is a condition where the lining of your lungs get inflamed. And so then when you breathe, it burns.
And as a singer, I'm sure that was awful.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how did you manage that?
Consulting with my doctor, like some people, and this is another thing, think that I'm a hypochondriac. But any little change in my body, I'm emailing my doctor.
Yeah.
Like, I got this new spot.
That's a good thing, though. But really, that's a good thing. And I think more people should actually do that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm always consulting with my doctor, like, hey, I want to try this vitamin. Is this okay for me? Because what happened one year, at the start of the pandemic, there was this big push for like elderberry, echinacea.
Yes.
Boost your immunity.
Yeah.
When you have lupus, that elderberry is the one thing they tell you do not take.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, what will that do?
So with people who have lupus, our immune system is already overactive. So elderberry is supposed to be, the purpose of elderberry is to jump kick your immune system. So it's sending it into like overdrive.
Yeah.
I was taking elderberry.
Oh.
Because I was like, pandemic. I want to be sick. I want to be ready.
Pandemic.
And I didn't ask my doctor about that.
Oh.
So after that experience, because I got really sick.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah.
I was like, you know what? I'm just going to ask her.
Wow.
Going forward, any little thing, any little change that I'm about to make in my life, I'm going to review it with her.
Wow, that's so interesting. It's things you don't even think about. I'm like, it's just, it's a regular food. Oh, why can't,
It's elderberry. It's healthy.
Yeah. That's unfortunate. So I guess, okay. So let's kind of go back to that. Are there any cures or therapies for lupus that are out there?
There's no cure. There's no cure. And therapy would vary depending on how it affects you. Like some people, lupus attacks their heart. Some people, it attacks their kidneys. Some people, it's their skin. So there's no like one cookie cutter answer. It's definitely
Mm-hmm.
something that you would have to consult with a doctor, 2, 3, 4, or 5, depending on what it
Wow.
is.
Yeah. Very interesting. So I guess before we wrap up, what advice do you have for any person out there who may have an autoimmune disease, whether it be lupus or something else, and they want to travel, they want to go out there, but they're just nervous or hesitant? Any advice for them?
What has worked for me is having safety nets in place and
Like
like
what?
have people like, there's a game show where you're allowed to have a lifeline, like
Yeah.
somebody, you can call whenever
Yeah.
you need something,
Use
and
a
they're
lifeline,
gonna
please.
they're gonna answer that phone. So I
Yeah,
have a
yeah.
lifeline buddy. I'm
Mm-hmm.
constantly sharing my location with my family.
Mm-hmm.
I make sure that I tell my doctor that I'm going away, and I get
Mm-hmm.
her advice on whether or not it would be a good situation for me.
Mm-hmm.
Then, I pack my meds, I do my research, I try to plan activities ahead of time so that I know what to expect,
Mm-hmm.
and I know, what my body needs to do in order for me to have the experience.
Okay.
So just, communication, having a strong support system, and then pre-planning as much as you can so
Mm-hmm.
that you know what you're going into.
Okay. I love that. Well, hopefully that can help somebody out
Oh,
there.
and one more
Yeah, yeah,
thing,
yeah. Go ahead, go ahead.
fear is not real.
Ooh, talk about that
Sometimes
one right quick.
sometimes you got to feel the fear and do it anyway. And
Mm-hmm.
when you're on the other side of the experience, you'll realize, okay, that wasn't as bad as I thought.
Say that.
Me
Yep.
and my head.
Yep. I created this whole thing that wasn't actually there. That didn't need
Right.
to
What
be
does
there.
my therapist call it? She calls it catastrophizing. She's like, are you
Catastrophizing.
catastrophizing
Yeah. Yeah.
again?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
I'm
I've heard that. Well, yes, actually, that's exactly what I did. No, but that's awesome. So, okay. I want to thank you so much for coming out and talking to us. I hope you guys really enjoyed it. And I hope there was somebody out there who could be inspired by Natalis because she don't stop. You hear
Oh,
me? She's
thank
out here
you.
moving and grooving, right?
But you inspire me,
Thank
I be
you.
seeing you doing your thing, and I'm like, she's a strong woman.
Yeah, you got to. You got to. And the biggest part, the real reason I think having this platform is so good is that we can kind of come together, right? We can have these conversations, whether it be about mental health or, lupus, autoimmune diseases or fear, trauma, whatever it is, we can come together and have this conversation. It's a
Yeah,
platform I think where people can really just kind of let their guard down, ask questions that they want to have or just be able to talk to somebody that they think can relate to them in any aspect, you know
yeah,
and so I really do. I'm really happy and I really appreciate you for coming out because I know somebody here can help, and I know even some of the things that you said to me helped me, so I really do appreciate it.
yeah. Thank you for the opportunity as well. Hopefully,
Of
this
course.
inspires other people to share their story too.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you guys for listening. Once again, this is the Next Stop Nonstop podcast, and I will see you guys on the next episode. And to my Next Stop Nonstop family, I want to remind you to write a review on iTunes and like, comment, and share this episode with your family and friends. Thank you so much for tuning in and rocking with me today. Make sure you tag at Next Stop Nonstop in any of your comments, or if you have any topic suggestions, or if you just have a question for me. At Next Stop Nonstop can be found on all social media. So until we meet again, I want to wish you all healthy minds and happy travels.